It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. To say that we are dealing with information overload is, well, an understatement. Wow, there is a ton of news to cover. So much, I do feel like my head is spinning, and this is just the beginning of all of the craziness to come. The acceleration into this massive time of change where the globalists are wanting to get rid of national sovereignty worldwide and bring in their world government. Obviously, we have the report via a FOIA request that was granted by the gracious leaders at government, just from one threat fusion center, with the feds basically watching Infowars.com and reading comments and responding to locals local police and others that come to them and say, I saw a V for Victory sign. What does it mean? Does it mean that they're going to come get us? And they're like, well, that's from World War II, and it means that basically it's a resistance, but it appears to be nonviolent against what Infowars.com perceives as a police state. I mean, why didn't that local police department just go read what it said, read the website on it, go to the website link where we described what it was about? Why didn't they look up what V meant in World War II? I mean, they could have done it. Instead, they went to the feds and had them tell them. And there's a whole bunch of stuff like that in there. You know, all the classic stuff of, I claim a world government's being established, and all the rest of it. So we're going to be speaking some about that because it is important, and going over some of the different documents where it is described, though, as right-wing terrorism. That's a quote. See, a couple cops got shot last week, and now they're saying it's sovereign citizens in Louisiana. Really, reportedly, they were drug dealers and a bunch of stuff who just used that as a pretext to say they're magically above the law. Just because the globalists are above the law doesn't mean that you or I can suddenly go out and kill somebody. I mean, the globalists are going to be brought to justice as well. But the point is that they're now saying that's a sovereign citizens group. And then they just call them extremists and anti-government, which isn't enough of a label. You're like, wow, I mean, these guys just reportedly shot and killed 2 cops, injured 2 others, for what appears to be just the fact that they felt like it. And you just call them extremist. Because then when they call somebody like myself an extremist, the label now psychologically means killer. And statistically, what they call sovereign citizens do kill 3 or 4 cops a year. Statistically, that's still a very low threshold for the police. But it's advertised like it is the end of the world. It's all advertised like it is the end of the world, and that it is the most dangerous thing in the world to the police. Actually, this is not the most dangerous, but it's one of the bad ones. Harvard study finds fluoride lowers IQs, causes cancer. That's mainstream news. You can look that up. Just came out a few weeks ago. My point is, but that's not sexy, scary. No, that's not something that they're hyping up. And notice you saw all this hype ahead of all this happening. They want to get a civil war going. They want to get the police to alert like an attack dog on patriots, libertarians, and conservatives, so you will start a fight with us, a fight you will lose, of course, big time, And the globalists will use that to get rid of both sides and bring in foreign troops. This is not actually new news. But now that it's in the London Guardian, I guess it is seen as news. It's up at Infowars.com. Senior senator suggested false flag attack to Kennedy 2 years prior to Operation Northwood's proposal that was green-lighted all the way up to the president, who again said no to the plan. Not just some on-the-shelf plan, a plan that was green-lighted to shoot up movie theaters, bomb shopping malls, little shopping centers, attack U.S. military bases, and blame it on domestic groups so they would round up and arrest, claiming they work for Cuba and the Soviet Union. Now, Bobby Kennedy also proposed to his brother, when he was Attorney General, attacking the U.S. Embassy in Honduras as a pretext to invade. Now, of course, this all was actually public a long time ago. Even after we'd reported on it, it's been in ABC News, you name it, Northwoods in general, back in early 2001 is when that news broke. But I remember watching a Frontline on PBS when I was on the road one time in my hotel room, and I'd read the stuff, but there they were admitting that Nixon had green-lighted bombing their own convention to blame it on domestic groups, but that too many people in the FBI found out about it who they didn't control, and so they killed that plan. See, this is why when there's an event and it has the right timing and telltale signs of other actors, other people involved, we immediately are forced to come out and say, well, this could be a false flag. We said Fast and Furious was a false flag, and the memos did come out that it was done to blame the Second Amendment. In fact, provocateuring and staging stuff is so universal now that whether it's the Greek police or whether it's the Spanish police or the U.S. police or Canadian police or British police, even local police departments get caught constantly planting drugs on people, breaking into cars, blaming it on people, stealing cars, running their own chop shops, running prostitution, and provocateuring. Staging attacks on their own officers who sometimes don't even know. There's been lawsuits. There was a couple out in Seattle is how we learned about it from '99, where they had cops dressed up throwing glass bottles and hitting police in the head with it who were in riot gear. And in one lawsuit I saw, they broke the guy's jaw, and he got in trouble when he complained and found out that it was other police officers doing it, dressed up like anarchists, leading a group of foundation anarchists who'd been flown in by some of the big tax-free foundations as a way to attack the 50, 60,000 peaceful protesters that were saying, we don't want the World Trade Organization. We don't want global government. And you got a bunch of men, women, and children and baby strollers and good-looking protesters out there on the streets. That can turn into a peaceful revolution. So you go and you attack the police with your own police, and Delta Force was involved. If you don't believe me, if you're a new member of the press or a new listener, just you can pull up Seattle Post-Intelligence or Seattle Times. It's all in my film, Police State 2: The Takeover. If you're too lazy to use LexisNexis or Reuters services that'll have stuff that's not easy to find on the web. I've got screenshots and newscasts in my film, Police State 2: The Takeover. And I got all this world news. I'm digressing. Just that's one of the first articles I wanted to get into. And the issue was the police got mad, the police union got mad, because they had to sit there for an entire day for the news cameras, but they weren't told. They were just told, stand down, being hit by bottles, being rocks thrown at them by less than 50 people. Delta Force was commanding it with radios from the heights. That came out. Delta Force. Delta Force, yes, look it up. Delta Force was running the whole black op. They had different federal agencies there, federal marshals, FBI, ATF, of course, bomb disposal was their cover story. And a little less than 50 anarchists who they brought in and then housed in a building under government protection. So they attacked the police, and the police are like, we want to do something. And they're told, stand down, let them loot Nike Town, let them burn things down, and sit. Well, I'm sorry. I'm a citizen, I'm a cop, I'm a janitor. You throw a bottle and hit me with it, I'm gonna attack you right back. I mean, who are these police? You're standing there in the riot line, people are hitting you with bottles, and you don't do anything? So one hits you in the face and breaks your jaw? You kill somebody with a bottle. It's a deadly weapon. The point is that is brainwashing that they would put up with that. Remember the case of Katrina? Broussard is his name. He was the sheriff. Or no, he was the sheriff of Broussard County or whatever you call it. The point is, we pulled up the CBS newscast a few weeks ago when I talked about it on air. He talks about his mother. And she's in the nursing home, flooded. You know, the water's a foot off the floor, foot deep. She's got a cell phone that wasn't dead yet, and she's calling him. And he's saying, Mama, I'll be there in 1 day. Mama, I'll be there in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. They get there 5 days later because the feds wouldn't let him in to get his mother. And this is the head of the county. This is who's really in charge, elected. And his mother died. My mother is stuck somewhere, and the feds are going to stop me over my dead body? I mean, that's what all this zero tolerance and all this is about, where the child brings, or the teenager brings, a plastic knife, a Dixie knife, to spread butter on their bread. You see it in the news every few weeks, and they get arrested. Well, we have zero tolerance, and you have to report this. You have to report if you're a teacher. And so like a robot, you don't use your own discretion. Like a robot, you go and the person gets arrested or suspended or kicked out. So many of the problems we face in this society are because people won't exercise their own judgment, their own opinion. Juries are supposed to judge the law and the facts. If a jury doesn't like a law, it's a check and a balance on unconstitutional laws. That's what the courts are for, and we are the ultimate arbiter in the court, not the judge. Grand juries have turned into rubber stamps of prosecutors. Juries, they've tried to turn them into rubber stamps. Judges try to lie to juries and say, oh no, you're supposed to do whatever the judge tells you. That is called judicial tyranny. Okay, I've already digressed off into that. Just there is an Infowars.com article dealing with it, and it's now in the London Guardian. And they were going to kill U.S. troops with mortar shells and blame it. They were going to burn aircraft at bases, sabotage ship harbors, basically everything the globalists do on a routine basis to us. Start rumors, use clandestine radio. And again, this is operations in Cuba and in the U.S. to claim Cuba is attacking the United States. And the point is that many of these plans have been executed. It's called Operation Gladio. Okay, let me stop there. Let me go over what's coming up today in this hour and in the second hour. And then we have an amazing guest, filmmaker Michael Murphy. You know, they made What in the World Are They Spraying? That goes off the government's admission that for at least 18 years worldwide, we're getting sprayed with aluminum dioxide, barium salts, and countless other nasty things, sulfur dioxide. Now they've got a new film out. We're carrying both. Why in the world are they spraying? And that gets into, well, the real agenda. So why are they spraying? We know what they're spraying. The question is, why are they spraying? And I like this film because it's just got the government admissions, the government think tanks. They have this stuff on C-SPAN. They just don't call it chemtrails. And it's added to the jet fuel. and the jet engines disperse it. Even the airline companies aren't even really involved. All they got to do is control the big kerosene makers. That's what jet fuel is, basically. So that's coming up in the third hour. We will have open phones towards the end of this hour and right into the second hour. And we'll have some open phones for Mr. Murphy as well. But again, both films are available, discounted with free citizen rule books and bumper stickers and more at InfoWarsShop.com. That's InfoWarsShop.com, and your purchase does make the broadcast possible. Both URLs will get you there, InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsShop.com. Okay, continuing here. FOIA, for your documents, DHS monitored opposition to See Something, Say Something program. Federal agency tracked Infowars stories, user comments. Through Saturday through today, the Drudge Report has prominently linked our important article about police departments trying to get Homeland Security grants for blimps tethered over your city, surveilling you. That's on the right-hand side at drudgereport.com. Right now, it's a very important article. We also have a Fox News report that's also up at drudgereport.com. I say that because it's right above our article. Agencies tap down speculation over hollow point ammo purchases. It's Fox News. And it basically says, you know, the feds are like, we're not buying any extra ammo. And then they cherry pick the story to make it look like it's no big deal. Nothing to worry about. Well, we're going to be going over that. We're going to get into Newsweek telling Obama, hit the road, Jack. I'm going to run down just some of the big headline stacks we're going to be breaking down today. And then we're going to give the number out to take your phone calls interspersed with the news. But in the economic stack, we've got some very important information. Lord Rothschild betting on euro collapse, ? That's up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Banking titan places $200 million short against the European single currency. We're going to be going over that. And CNBC, Der Spiegel, and ABC News are all picking up on that. Moody's says more California cities at risk of bankruptcy. Yeah, it's been engineered that way with unfunded mandates. It's all made-up money the bankers give them. They get real assets back. That's how the banks take over. Euro stock slip after European Central Bank downplays bond report. Facebook stock slides to all-time high. It was always a scam, always meant to be a scam. To scam you. It's a predator class. And they're expanding derivatives worldwide, the CME group is. New coupons aim to keep people off generic drugs. That's just some of the financial news. And you've heard guests here on the broadcast, most of the economists we have on, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, people that research trends like Gerald Celente, Max Keiser. They say now more than ever, a collapse. We're already collapsing. We're already deindustrialized. We're already having a rotting in the general economy. Some areas are completely collapsing already, like Detroit and areas outside Los Angeles and, well, many other areas. Crime is exploding, but we're talking about an accelerated collapse becoming a foregone conclusion. In fact, Max Keiser, if you missed it last Friday, said he does not see a way to avert it mathematically by April of next year. And so that's August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So I guess that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like 8.5, 9 months. The point is that I tend to agree with Celente a little more because they can always come up with new crazy gimmicks and bubbles that kind of put things off. And I don't like these gimmicks because it only consolidates power with the globalist. But, I mean, I'm not looking forward to a collapse to be proven right. I'll tell you one thing. I'd love to somehow avert this and people say, oh, Alex, things weren't as bad as you said. I'm not the one saying there's going to be a total collapse. A collapse is imminent, though, on the course we're on. It's kind of like there's an iceberg out there 2 miles ahead of us, and the radar and the visual shows we are on a dead ahead to hit it. And I'm like, hey, we better have a discussion about this. We might want to change course. And if we do change course, that's great. All I know is I've never seen more money being spent. I've never seen more admissions and trial balloons and acclimation conditioning exercises going on like we are now for civil war, basically. I mean, they're telling police departments nationwide, but also all over the world, that the citizens will attack you, harden your facilities, get storable food, get weapons, huge ammo caches, get ready. You've heard the police call in, but you've also seen it in the news. And now the TSA on the highways, rolling out all 50 states. The Secretary of the Army saying put troops on the streets, blimps, drones, Army manuals about gun confiscation in the U.S., new riot gear to stop small arms fire. So it's not just riot gear, it's full-body ballistic gear, incredibly expensive, is being issued to special military units for homeland operations. A new Army helmet with a full ballistic shield in front of it. That was in the news last week. Well, it was in the news because we put it in the news, became a national story. And by the way, all I can say is, thank God for the Drudge Report. Every day for the last week or two, week and a half, the Drudge Report's been linking to our stories. And a lot of them would already, become somewhat national, international. But I mean, with Drudge, it's just, Drudge already recognizes what's important and what a big story is, so that's why he's linking to so many of them, but so much is happening. But the Drudge linking to them is just making, I don't know, we had like 5 stories last week that were national news stories. One of them was responded to by the White House, and that's covered by Fox News. We'll cover that when we come back. Agencies tamp down speculation over hollow point ammo purchases. And basically they're saying, don't run, we are your friends, everything's normal, everything's fine, nothing to see. We're fine here. How are you? Who is this? We're sending a squad. No. There's a reactor leak, very dangerous. Boring conversation anyways. We'll be right back with that. That's Han Solo in cell block 1138. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, here is a Fox News report. Thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Jones. Let's break down the foreign banker occupation government trying to spin the national news story that Paul Watson's research helped kick off in the last 2 weeks. This is foxnews.com. It's also covered on Fox Television. Agencies tamp down speculation over hollow point ammo purchases. Oh, well, I'm glad that they said nothing to worry about. Move along. Obscure federal agencies triggered a firestorm of conspiracy theories. So now if you ask, gee, I wonder why they've bought 1.4 billion rounds of ammo, more than 10 times any yearly purchase in history. And I wonder why they're not military ammo. It's illegal to use hollow points in the military worldwide because of the Geneva Convention. What are you going to do with 1.4 billion plus? Because there's more purchases daily. Now they're blacking out where the ammo is going to. So if we say, oh, you're blacking it out, using critical thinking, wow, you don't want us to know what you're doing, even though you're not mandated by Congress to make these purchases secret. Oh, and there are no bid contracts to your buddies. There's story after story after story here. If the prostitute lazy media, let me tell you what goes on at these newsrooms now. They've gotten rid of most of the real reporters that cause problems and actually do research. And they got a bunch of lazy people that sit around in radio, TV, and print. And they sit around and wait for press releases to come from government or corporate agencies. And then because they ask weak questions that are softball, they have connections, and they get to call up and talk to the CEO or the governor or the police chief or whoever or the senator, and they'll give them a quote on top of that. And then they get to go on junkets to Hawaii or whatever with the rest of the prostitutes. That's what they do. Not, well, wait a minute, it's 1.4 billion rounds. Oh, wait a minute, they're now, since we're reporting on it, the new purchase orders blacking them out. Hey, you're not allowed to do that. Hey, why are these no bid? I mean, just story after story after story. But because real reporters in dinosaur media are so rare. Fox News can just take the quotes from the federal agency and just put it out there and say, they said it's no big deal, conspiracy theorist. And they use that term over and over and over and over and over again. So now if I have any type of discrimination on what type of car I like, on what type of food I like, on what type of toothpaste I like, that's a conspiracy theory. Because they're saying if you question anything, that's a conspiracy theory, which is a pejorative term to criticize people, implying you're mentally unstable. Well, going along with this out-of-control government and this out-of-control bureaucracy, that's what's mentally unstable. So here they are on the mountain reporting to us like they're God. Agencies tap down speculation over hollow point ammo purchases. I say good job to Fox for even covering this, but they still, to even get it published, have to run with all the little talking points. But the agencies, most recently the Social Security Administration, are trying to put a damper on the speculation, noting the ammunition is standard issue and simply used for mandatory federal training sessions. Really, more than 10 times what you've ever bought, and $1.4 billion. Obscure federal agencies triggered a firestorm of conspiracy theories. Our special agents need to be armed and trained appropriately, said a message on the official blog for the Social Security Inspector General's office explaining the purchases. The bullet purchases drew widespread attention as the website Infowars.com published several stories on them that were linked off of the widely read Drudge Report and other sites. DrudgeReport.com. Infowars.com cataloged a string of recent purchases, because we're evil conspiracy theorists, we link to the official purchase orders. First by the Department of Homeland Security, then by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and then the Social Security Administration. Yeah, no mention here of the major backdrop that it's $1.4 billion. $250 million, $450 million, $750 million. That was a week and a half ago. Now, hundreds of thousands more a day in the purchase orders. And I mean, we're talking about 20,000 rounds to little bitty offices that we go and look up, don't even supposedly have armed, sworn people in them. But the feds don't care. They've set the precedent with the TSA to let any bureaucrat impersonate a police officer. And let me tell you, it's going to cause big problems having the TSA on the streets. Folks, you think the police get out of control? At least they have some constitutional training. When you get all these security guards and mercenaries and minions, that basically bounty hunters are more professional, it is already a nightmare. Continuing. Infowars.com speculated the purchases were being made in preparation for civil unrest. Imagining... No, I didn't imagine. We linked to government and Pentagon documents. Infowars.com speculated that the purchases were being made in preparation for civil unrest, imagining a scenario of economic collapse. Oh, we're imagining. It was only in Fox News that we linked to talking about economic collapse and every other major publication. But we imagined it. See, our articles are full of links. Our articles, on average, have about 15 times, I've done the math, 15 times the links of a, quote, mainstream media dinosaur publication. I mean, if we say something, we link to it. And by the way, when we see a big, fat, out-of-control government run by foreign banks raping our country and the world, we say something. When I see something, I do say something. So it goes on to say, imagining a scenario of economic collapse where sensors could cause disorder. If seniors could cause disorder if denied their Social Security benefits. And that's not what we really said in the article. We said people getting denied their benefits across the board, there would be major breakdown in civil unrest, which the media admits out the other side of its mouth they're preparing for. As we said in a recent post, our office has criminal investigators, our special agents who are responsible for investigating violations of the laws that govern the SSA's programs, said the Social Security administration. But the Social Security Administration statement posted Thursday noted that their agents need firearms and ammo in the course of training, investigations, and responding to threats against offices and employees. So there's this backdrop with people watching Fox News or people reading this where they're like, oh, that bad Alex Jones and that Infowars.com and that evildraudgereport.com. I mean, look, they just took reasonable National Weather Service and Social Security Administration, getting no little ammo mandated by law for just basic target practice and things that are mandated. And here's Alex Jones imagining the end of the world and financial crises. So the average person sitting there watching television or reading this thinks, oh, there you go again, being alarmist, when our article links to Pentagon drilling for civil unrest, mainstream news saying economic collapse on the horizon, 1.4 billion rounds, over 10 times the biggest purchase I've ever done. We had that in an article, all of it linked, and Fox News is just jealous that Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and DrudgeReport.com are, well, Drudge is getting more traffic than Fox News, and that we're starting to get up there. So you don't control the narrative anymore, okay? By the way, I've got family in the Army, the Marines, you name it. They've been doing nothing but training for civil unrest with local police all over the country. I mean, this is admitted. And if we're unable to stop this collapse and what's coming, you are going to look even stupider for making jokes about us. Now, there's the article. DHS classifies new ammo purchases following controversy. Federal agency blacks it out. See, that's the story. 1.4 billion rounds. Oh, but they're like, oh, we bought 174,000 rounds and that Infowars. And it just goes on. As concerns about the type of bullets, hollow points, which expand upon impact, the statement said the type is standard issue and being used during mandatory quarterly firearms qualifications and other training sessions. That's not true. You don't use hollow points in your qualification and your training. You use regular ball ammo because it's less expensive and doesn't jam as easy. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, found itself scrambling to respond to a similar report this week about an order for 46,000 rounds of ammo. And it just goes on. So I'm going to spare you the rest of the conspiracy theory stuff. And I, quite frankly, have only gotten to a handful of stories. There is so much to cover. You know, we've got the Justice Department shipping tens of thousands of guns and hand grenades into Mexico. But instead, the Justice Department is busy creeping around spying on Rupert Murdoch so they can blackmail his media empire into supporting gun confiscation, banning semi-autos, abortion, which they are now promoting, many of their show hosts. And here's Politico, exclusive FBI probed GOP trip with drinking nudity in Israel. And it describes a boat out in the harbor with people swimming in their underwear or fully clothed. And they described this, and the FBI found that, no, that there wasn't anything illegal going on. Now, again, this is pure witch hunt stuff that is going on right now. Try to go after small little petty things instead of the big crimes. This is all part of the political battling that's happening. And here's what I want to get your take on. Hit the road, Barack Obama, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Newsweek cover calls our president and calls out president on failed policy and proclaims all but certain Republican victory. Appearing on the cover of Newsweek, Barack Obama looks coy, half smiling, half surprised, gracefully clutching his suit jacket snug over his shoulder. It might appear to be some sort of watch advertisement, were it not for Niall Ferguson's blasting headline, "Hit the road, Barack, why we need a new president." Now again, Newsweek, ladies and gentlemen, a true dinosaur of deception, is only doing this because they know that they're going out of print. Because, I mean, I had a Newsweek the other day I meant to do a show on. The whole thing was pharma ads and government ads. Government taxpayer money finances it. Same thing in Time Magazine. I mean, literally, I was shocked when I was in a local business and saw it. And I asked the business owner if I could take it, and I did. So it wasn't a store. Like, it's out there somewhere. We cleaned off the table. It was the one with Queen Elizabeth on the cover. And the whole thing was big pharma or government ads. I couldn't find ads for any economy. It was just drugs and government. Taxpayer paid for propaganda. And it was all anti-family, anti-gun. I mean, it was like, it's what you'd expect with magazines in North Korea. I mean, literally, it was like I lived in an alternate dimension where there weren't regular ads and stuff. It was just a bunch of propaganda. But that's a side issue. They're falling in on themselves. They know the public has awoken to them. Fast and Furious has grievously hurt the globalists' credibility. People are now not believing anything they say. And they are hitting the panic switch. They meant Obama to be their guy, to be the savior, to be the guy that they could sell as the black Jesus. But as I said in the Obama deception 3.5 years ago, as soon as we exposed him, I predicted they would throw him out like rotten food or something out of the refrigerator. I was about to say rotten baby diapers. Whatever. The point is that that's basically what's beginning to happen, because they understand that no one is buying into him. So the power structure more and more is swinging towards Romney. And this is the word that I was getting from a lot of insiders 4 or 5 months ago. And I told you it looked like Obama was in deep trouble. Now, he may launch a big war and get elected through that. He may stage some domestic terror attacks, or his controllers will. But now, because no one would buy it, people would immediately look at his people as being the culprits, because they do like to talk. Their hubris as criminals has gotten them. They like to brag about fake bin Laden raids. They like to leak stuff about Israel. They like to leak stuff about, hey, don't worry, donors, if he's down in the polls, there's going to be a big event we're going to blame on people. Mass shootings and bombings. Yeah, it's going to be blamed on the conservatives and libertarians. I mean, what? Thank you for doing that, by the way. Thank you for thinking we're that stupid. Because when you look at somebody and go, you're really stupid, you don't see a thing I'm doing. Just sometimes you can get kind of the mind-numbed yuppies to wake up and go, what, are you making fun of me? Is something going on? I mean, you can do bad things to them, but you can't rub it in. So the prancing around and the open statements of you didn't build that, because they are in control. They're up there surrounded by yes men. They think that they can do whatever they want. And still, I'm not saying we're going to be in good shape when Romney gets in, but this shows how desperate the power structure is. That, because I mean, about a year ago, it was pretty clear Romney was going to be a ringer. I mean, the media was going to basically use him as a ringer, whether he knew he was a ringer or not. But now, Romney's actually doing things that look like he wants to win, like getting Paul Ryan. Whether you love him or hate him, it's a good move. So right now, barring a big stage war, which could happen, or big stage terror attacks, looks like Barack Obama is out. But then what is Mitt Romney going to do during the collapse? I'll tell you this. One reason the establishment now wants Mitt Romney in there is because they know the public's waking up, and a new puppet, it'll take people at least a few months for the gold plating to wear off until they begin to wake up that it's meet the new boss, same as the old boss. And then Paul Ryan could come out with his agenda that gets shot down. And then the Democrats can fight with Paul Ryan, and the average conservative will immediately do whatever Paul Ryan and Romney say because the Democrats are attacking them. So it's all just basic psychological manipulation. But what is Romney going to do once he's in office and the economic meltdown accelerates? You see, if the economic meltdown imploded fully, I mean, really got nasty, instead of slowly rotting, if there was a flashpoint, can you imagine Obama trying to do gun confiscation? Can you imagine Obama trying to set up TSA checkpoints on highways, which they're starting to do? Can you imagine people would rebel? But you put in a new Mitt Romney, well, he's just doing what he had to do, the mess Obama left us. And as much as I detest Obama and all of these different characters because they're plastic teleprompter readers, they're still just puppets in the final equation. And we do ourselves a disservice focusing on them as personalities too much. Now, if you gauge what the puppet masters are doing with the puppet, you can read a lot of the agenda. It's important to watch these guys and follow what they're doing. Now, I'm going to give the number out. We're going to take a bunch of your calls in the second hour, interspersed with a ton of other news I'm going to mention here in a moment. Very important info today. But the toll-free number to join us, free for all, whatever issue you want to raise, where you think the election's going, why do you think they're gearing up for civil unrest and collapse? Do you think Max Keiser is right that it's a foregone conclusion by next April? I want to hear from you. 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. Now, coming up, government and media turn accused cop killers into constitutional sovereign citizens when their MO is accused drug dealer, just basically criminals. Julian Assange, big fight in Britain, seeking diplomatic solution in Ecuador standoff. Dempsey, U.S. feels no pressure from Israel to back strike. Big stack of news in the Middle East. We've also got Aurora eyewitness, alarm announced, murder in the theater. And why does the Department of Education need 12-gauge shotguns? Remember, they're the ones that are now raiding people for unpaid college tuition or unpaid student loans when they don't have statutory authority to do that. I mean, there is no law. It's not criminal penalties. So there's just more of this. Well, why not? I mean, you've got TSA who take an 8-hour course and now do behavioral testing on people when they can't even wipe their own noses on average. I mean, it's all just insane. We're going to be going over all of that and a lot more today. Feds are also moving to strike lewd details from Homeland Security's sexual discrimination suit. Yeah, it's pretty lewd what's reportedly going on up there with Big Sis and her gal pals. Oh, man, I tell you, I am sick of looking at her ugly face, aren't you? It's not that she's ugly physically, she's ugly spiritually, if you know what I mean. That power-tripping, jack-booted witchy poo. Okay, second hour coming up. Don't forget InfoWarsShop.com. We've got the Pro Pure water filters, the lowest price anywhere with promo code WATER, 10% off that already low price, and a lot more. InfoWarsShop.com. Look at this. Kurt Nimmo's got an article critical of Hank Williams Jr. I think it's a little too strong, but I get Kurt's point. Hey, I don't control everything my writers do. You know, I tell people general areas I want to go in, things I want to research, but everybody's got a free hand that basically writes for me as long as they don't get it wrong factually. He says Hank Williams Jr. gets it wrong. I'm going to print that, and I'm going to, later in the hour, read a little bit of it. And I get it. He says that Obama is a Muslim, America-hating, military-hating person. And obviously he's not a Muslim, folks. He's a globalist front man who's there to stir up the radical Muslims so they can get the Muslims to kill each other. And but I don't really see Hank Williams endorsing all the wars and stuff. And I think that's where I disagree with Kurt a little bit. But we'll go over all of that coming up because I think it's important to discuss. Wow, Lord Rothschild betting on Euro collapse. We're going to be getting into that huge news. Julian Assange and the Brits threatening to raid the embassy and their president the Latin American countries saying, hey, we're not, your vassal slaves, we're not a colony. That's starting to really come to a head. And we've also got a bunch of other just really important reports we're going to be getting to on mobile phone companies can predict future movements of users by building a profile of their lifestyle. I told you about this years ago, but it's finally hitting the news. We're going to be getting into all of that as well here today. And in 1 hour, we have an expert who's made 2 films on chemtrails. First, they made What in the World Are They Spraying? Now they've made Why in the World Are They Spraying? Both available at InfoWarsStore.com. Okay, let's go to your phone calls. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. Let's go to Jones in Idaho. You're on the air.
Good morning, Alex. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
First-time caller, but definitely not a first-time listener. I've entered a couple of your contests, and I think you guys are wonderful.
Well, thank you, ma'am. What's on your mind today?
Well, I was curious. Have you guys seen the previews for the 2016 Obama's America? It's done by Dinesh D'Souza.
No, but I think I've heard about that. I need to check into that. By the way, guys, it's in the featured news archive. I didn't see it in all the stacks about that Marine on Facebook that made some comments that I don't think were illegal, and they came and arrested him. It's a big story. It's all over the place. And I meant to cover it this weekend, but I didn't. And so will you get me that? So what does it break down? I mean, basically, if Obama gets reelected, we're in communism or something?
Basically, I think what they're calling him is an anti-colonialist. Not so much a socialist or a dictator, or it's more that he wants to abolish our way that we've had for so many years. He doesn't like it. He considers the West as like Great Britain.
Yeah, no, I see the ideas out there that he's a communist, he's a Muslim. All that is just cover stories. The guy is globalist. He wants to destroy all sovereign nations and create a neo-colonial system of and by the bankers.
Really good YouTube video. It's called Sully Interviews 2016 Moviegoers. I recommend everybody see it. There's I hear you. But if you're saying that, and I appreciate your call, I mean, if you're saying that Obama wants to get rid of colonialism, they're invading all of Africa. I mean, almost every country under the guise of helping everyone under AFRICOM. And that's why Hank Williams is wrong, saying Obama doesn't love the military, which they imply war. They're invading all over the place and using jihadis and you name it to do it. I mean, Obama is a front man for neo-colonialist. But communists will say, we don't like colonialist, you're corporatist or you're capitalist. No, no, no. These are global mega crime syndicates that actually want to use communism to control populations, but they're exempt from it. Thank you again for joining us on this Monday, the 20th day of August 2012. I am your host, Alex Jones. We're going to have open phones in this hour and the next. We have filmmaker Michael Murphy, who made a very powerful documentary film, What in the World Are They Spraying, a few years ago. Now they've made Why in the World Are They Spraying, getting into why they're doing it. It is available at InfoWarsShop.com, discounted if you want to get it there. Very, very powerful. We're going to be breaking down his research and all the government admissions, I mean, on video, that they're spraying us with aluminum dioxide, barium salts, sulfur dioxide, you name it. Bill Gates is getting government money to do this to you. So we're going to be going over all of that today. Also, coming up, there are now admissions by a lot of the mainstream media pundits that Barack Obama is out of there, barring a new war or some big catalyzing event, bombing, mass shooting, you name it. And don't think for a minute, just because the establishment is saying that Obama's out of there, that he couldn't pull some trick out of a hat, or that his handlers couldn't. But he's bought and paid for by the very same interests that are bought and paid for Mitt Romney. I mean, that's on record. That's not debatable. I have to say that I'm not a big fan of Paul Ryan and his No Child Left Behind
his support of NDAA, Patriot Act, a bunch of other garbage banker bailouts, but he has been anti-abortion, not just in talk, but in action, and has been staunchly pro-gun at a time where the entirety of Fox News punditry that I've seen, Bill O'Reilly, Bill Kristol, the head of News Corps, Murdoch, Michael Savage on his separate from News Corps, they're all calling for banning semi-autos. I mean, you don't need Sarah Brady or Dianne Feinstein when you got people like that calling for it. So there's a real move. They know America is waking up big time, and the backlash against Obama and their corporate communism, they get us into communism where they're exempt offshore and get the corporate welfare. See, all the terms we've been taught are wrong. And Carol Quigley at Georgetown and others brag about this. This is not my opinion. I don't even mean to plug this, but that's where the truth is. Read the 1,400-page Tragedy and Hope that's back in print, available at InfoWarsShop.com. Read the book that woke me up, None Dare Call a Conspiracy, back in print at InfoWarsShop.com. I mean, read those. It's got the quotes. It's got the admissions. Quigley loved world government. He was Bill Clinton's mentor. Read it, how they fund anything authoritarian under different names, and they know you'll go, okay, well, I want that fascist one. I want the corporate fascist Obama, or I want the corporate fascist Romney, when they're bought and paid for by the same people. But then you do get into this lesser of two evil quandary where you can say, hey, I know it's all rigged and all staged, but there is truth in that they're putting Romney in right now. I mean, that's the direction they're going in. Doesn't mean it's a done deal. Because they know people are on the edge of revolution. They ride it like a teeter-totter. Everybody's mad at Bush. You know, the country is on the edge of revolution, not trusting the government. You put Obama in. He continues the agenda to the T, but with different rhetoric. Gets caught in Fast and Furious, Salandra. It's Nixonian, how amateurish their criminality has been. And they have been amateurs in their arrogance, bragging, and, you know, don't worry, big donors keep giving us money, even if we're down in the polls. We could have stage shootings or bombings to blame our enemies. I mean, they don't say they're going to do the staging. They leave 1 degree of separation there. But the arrogance level. So in comes the corporatist Romney. But conservatives, I mean, I've seen none of his stickers around the country. They're sick of being conned. They're sick of country club, Rhino, Rockefeller Republicans like Bush Sr. And as bad as Bush Sr. was, Romney is even more openly a globalist. It's hard to believe. But so they bring in Paul Ryan. And so it signifies a victory that they even had to put Ryan in there. Well, they would have put somebody just like Romney in. Not that Ryan's even good. I'm saying the fact that they even put him in there shows they want to pacify conservatives, libertarians, constitutionalists. The fact that they're moving in that direction shows that the system knows people are waking up. But now in the next 3 months, I mean, we've got to watch this up to the election very, very closely, because when you start getting the Washington Post and Newsweek and all of them, everywhere, I've been seeing this the last 4 or 5 months start to turn against Obama. Now it's hit a crescendo. And they're talking about, well, let's have a gimmick of a new VP. And then Hillary doesn't want it. And they're talking about getting rid of Biden because of his comments. All of this is coming to a head. And he's got Jimmy Carter written all over him. But again, they know everybody's tipping towards being constitutionalist, pro-liberty. And so you see the Republican Party running in and going, it's okay, Obama, go ahead and say you want our guns. We're going to agree with you. We're scared of the public, too. You see, the system really gets the fact that the mood of the country isn't putting up with anything. And so, inner stage right, Romney, but no one's biting. So you give us a Paul Ryan. People start drilling down into who he is. But then I say morally, well, at least he's been anti-abortion. And while all the Republican leadership are bad-mouthing the Second Amendment, Paul Ryan's coming out for it. So do I really say, oh, well, doesn't matter who you put in? I mean, that's a question I ask all of you out there. But I'll tell you this, Mitt Romney gets in there, he will continue everything Obama was doing, just with different dressing. Be the same car, different coat of paint. Same engine, same brakes, same computer system. The same people are driving the train, folks. You just get rid of one ceremonial conductor or engineer, and you put in another one. And people will go back to sleep under Romney, even during a collapse for a while. And so we have big debates around the office. We say, obviously you don't support Obama because that would be immoral, but you look at the different factors. If Obama gets into office, the New World Order will probably completely lose the United States down the road. But then you argue, I don't know, he's so dangerous. The globalists could nuke something, making him a dictator. They could start a race war. The globalists have been beta testing all these things. That's too dangerous. It's the establishment caving in to get rid of the open radical and bring in their covert operator, Mitt Romney, to pacify people. So just go back to status quo. And I don't know, because I'm normally very decisive, but because things are so foggy, the establishment doesn't even know what to do. In fact, we see that in some of their public communiques that aren't for public consumption, but come out. The Republicans don't know what to do at the top. The Democrats don't know what to do. There's Politico articles out today where Obama, things are moving too quick, they're off balance. The whole system is. These are run by arrogant bankers who make 40-to-1 bets with other people's money. And sure, they set up the system of derivatives and said, we'll enslave the countries and the states and we'll bankrupt everything and then have a big police state that maintains order and have our cake and eat it too. But now that they're really up to the point of executing all this, the entire power structure is figuring out not all of them are at the top of the pyramid. And even those at the top of the pyramid are figuring out, hey, historically, once we get rid of rule of law, we get eaten. So now they're kind of up to the edge of the cliff without a parachute, and they thought they were going to throw us off. The so-called elites finding out, no, you're going to get a ride too. A new Gallup poll out. Congress's approval rating hits another all-time low. Last time I checked, it was 9%. They're always spinning it up and down. The point is that Ceausescu in Romania had a higher approval rating than that. All right, let's go to your phone calls. We're going to go to break and come back and take more of them here. I am going to try to go to your calls now. It's just, I'm throwing out these topics. You can bring up whatever you want. I love spin the wheel, the grab bag of stuff listeners bring up, angle, stories I meant to cover. That's why I enjoy your calls. Let's go to Tyla in New Mexico. You're on the air. Welcome.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, this is, I was calling because I'm a member of Hickory Nation, and I believe that there's some type of synthetic thing that was made having to do with biological warfare.
Well, ma'am, I don't know what nuclear nation is, and then you're saying you believe there's synthetic warfare. We don't screen calls, so you're hot on the air with whatever you want to say, but I don't understand.
It's from Dulce. I'm from Dulce. I believe that the...
You live in an area affected by test radiation.
Yes, and I have gone on the mountain and actually suffered radiation sickness.
Oh, I believe you, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the crew that shot John Wayne films in New Mexico and Nevada came down with cancer very soon after, yeah.
Yeah, and I experienced that. I talked with Gabe Valdez, one of the state police officers that worked with those issues on the tribe. And I know that our tribe is well off due to natural resources, but for some reason they keep saying that our tribe is going poor and stuff. But I worked with Wells Fargo, and I'm well aware that we have a zero to count. And I know that because of that, our tribe, I think, could be targeted because of our natural resources and stuff.
Of course. They pilfer everybody. And the tribal nation leadership around this country is unspeakably corrupt. It's very, very sad, because from day one the leadership's been corrupt, because they would kill any tribal leadership that didn't sell you out. It is just a nightmare situation. All right, thank you so much. We're going to jam in a whole bunch of calls from Mike and Jacob and Sharon and Chuck. Okay, we are back live. You know, I don't screen phone calls. And so sometimes we get absolutely amazing ones. And I'm not mad at the last few callers. But if I can't understand really what you're getting at, if I can't understand you, we're going to let you go. We'll just do the screening live on air. Because we don't screen your phone calls unless it's on a specific question. But it'd be better if you just told us what your view is and what your idea is. That's why a lot of times I say, I want to hear from accountants, or I want to hear from military and police, or I want to hear from dog catchers. I want to hear from farmers. Because when I specifically do that, we get incredible callers. If I say I want to hear from Australians, we get the calls. I want to hear from people near the site of this shooting. We get the calls. They're coherent, they're intelligent, they're insightful. And I'm not knocking the last two callers. I just had trouble making it out. So if you got a point, you got a question, you got a comment, hit me with it and let's go. I'm going to Mike in Illinois. Mike, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
You know, I'd like you to check out this mini-series called America with the K. Have you seen it?
Yes, Chris Christopherson, made in the 1980s.
Yeah, because I was looking on the side of one of the vehicles in there, UNSSU, UN Special Service Unit. And, based around Chicago, and I'm just kind of amazed as to, in my opinion, that's what they're bringing us to. And you can't hardly find it online anymore.
No, that's what they do. They bring you into a global government, and then they homogenize the national sovereignty. They homogenize the local departments, the state departments, and then you're under a global corporate government. And then meanwhile, we're all, I better give my rights up. The Muslims are going to get me, and the globalists are running the radical Muslims. So, yes, I do remember that mini-series, and I do remember they have basically the UN coup/communist coup over the U.S. The problem is with all these movies like Red Dawn, we're looking for a foreign invasion. The invasion already happened. The bankers, have you heard the clips where they brag on TV that they have captured us under a corporate world government?
I have. In fact, they wouldn't let Belzer on CNN.
Do we have Belzer tomorrow? Friday. We had to cut Belzer's interview short to finish the Dave Mustaine thing, and it was pretty amazing to have Christopher Walken pop in as well. But, yeah, I saw them cut Belzer short because he was exposing government assassinations of famous people and wouldn't shut up and was defeating the globalists with no ratings that he was debating. What's your take on that?
That is the way we're going, and that's why I'm afraid for YouTube and for the viewers of YouTube and so on and so forth, because they're cutting us off from our avenues of finding out the truth.
Yeah, and for those that just joined us, YouTube now is censoring and deleting channels for no reason. They are allowing people to say my voice is copyrighted by them, just my voice randomly, and then taking our videos down. And if I challenge it, they then give me a strike. So it's censorship, but they act like they're free and open, and it's a communal commons. So it's fake advertising. It's false advertising. And there's open calls for the cybersecurity, has been called by CNET News. That's pretty establishment that's published by CBS. Declan McCullough and others have said it's basically what Putin's trying to do in Russia. And yeah, because we're getting ready for a global meltdown. What do you think about the system throwing Obama under the bus? Or did he throw himself under the bus? They pushed their agenda with Obama. It blew up in their face. So now they're going to a backup plan.
I believe that. That's their agenda, to keep us off kilter. And I want to say one final thing before you let me go. I watched Behold a Pale Horse. I ordered it, and it brought a tear to my eye with Charlie Daniels. And I just compel everyone to watch that, along with Dreams from My Real Father, because that has actually turned my mother-in-law on to the truth, where she was ignoring me about things I've been saying to her.
No, it's so shocking. Well, that film about Obama is amazing, but the Behold a Pale Horse that we carry at InfoWarsShop.com, it is shot with cinematic quality. I mean, that guy used to shoot national commercials. All right, we are back. I am Alex Jones, your host. I am here Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. That's noon to 3 Eastern. And we are blasting out across the United States on XM channel 166, over 115 AM and FM affiliates, global shortwave, WWCR, and the audio streams and free podcast at Infowars.com, as well as prisonplanet.com. And we are watching a classic authoritarian system with completely illegal, open surveillance of everything we're doing being established. We are seeing the globalists systematically attack the family, the nation state, the individual. We are being conquered scientifically. And I don't feel up to the challenge. I know a lot of you don't feel up to the challenge. You don't think of yourself as a warrior against this. It's so big. You don't know where to start. Many of your friends and family, it seems, are in a daze. Or in a wonderland. That's from television. That trains the mind to be passive. And it's frightening. This weekend I was over at my parents' house, and one of their friends was over there, and the guy was asking me, "So, I've heard your show for years. Is it for real? Is it all an act?" And I just didn't even feel like validating it or even responding. And people ask me that all the time. I was like, what? I mean, the government's bought 1.4 billion rounds of hollow point bullets for us in the last year. I mean, there are Army manuals publicly that we've linked to, that the Army has on their website for re-education camps. That alone should have everybody out in the streets saying this government's criminal. Open up all the national security archives. Shut down the shadow government. Army manuals, current ones for mass training for cordoning cities and incrementally confiscating the guns. How to shut the power off, the water off until you acquiesce. And this is the type of stuff. In fact, they just found the Army manual. Pull it back up. I'll read people the code. If you scroll down a little bit, it's got the code right there in the first paragraph of the article. FM 3-3940. You can click on that, the recently unearthed link right there. The recently unearthed link. And you can read it. I mean, this is the type of stuff that we're dealing with here. And I was at Barton Springs the other day. I ran into a ton of listeners. People couldn't even recognize me with a mask on, a snorkel mask. I swim laps with a snorkel mask on. And if I talk to my children, people just flock over. They hear my voice. And most of them are, oh, thank you. Oh, yes, we saw the documents. Oh, we're waking up. But others will just walk over and go, oh, yeah, do you really believe all this stuff? And I'm like, believe it. You see, they think that if you believe it, it makes it real. Like if I say, oh, no, they're not training the military to go house to house and take our guns, I choose not to believe it. And this fellow was saying to me, yeah, I used to listen a lot, and he really had me sucked in. And I said, yeah, that's because I'm sucked in. You know, I hope the preparations for total martial law that are taking place are just a backup plan for the criminal globalist. I hope they don't drop the hammer, because I'll tell you what the entire architecture of this thing looks like, and I'm going to your phone calls. It looks like what the Soviets did to Christians from 1917 to about 1935. Why did they wipe out whole areas of the families, the farmers? Because they were self-sufficient and they had a culture. And the establishment wanted to just get rid of it and depopulate. And everything the globalists do is to destroy this country and to shut it down. And our military is not our military anymore. It's being forged into a weapon to be used against us. And, you know, that's where people like Hank Williams Jr. go wrong. He's like, Obama's a Muslim. He hates America. He wants to destroy our military and all this. Obama works for the same foreign banks that have captured our executive, our judicial to a great extent, the legislative, and the bureaucracy. And they'll rearrange puppets all day long, but still the same people are in control, and they're very bad people. They're into the fact that they have disdain for the public. They think you're weak if you have a soft heart. They have more compassion for animals than they have for humans. And we're in a lot of danger. So here's a little news flash if you're an old-time listener or a new listener. I 100% believe what I'm saying here. The only thing I'm guilty of is holding back. I felt guilty inside whenever Dave Mustaine came here and did a taped interview 3 weeks ago, back when the story would have been 10 times bigger. It was like a week after the Batman shooting. And he'd heard me talking about all the evidence, he'd seen it. And he said in the interview, if they do Fast and Furious, they do anything, they should be investigated for this. And he was leaving in a few days. I edited the thing together. It was an audio interview. And I just cut that out. He didn't ask me to. So there's your answer. It's worse than I say, okay? I hold back. You want to know the truth? The only thing I'm guilty of is holding back. It's certainly not embellishing. And I just think about how dangerous all these naive, childlike trendies are. They're all so good at acting cool. They're all so good at navigating the pop culture, but they don't know how to skin a buck. They don't know how to run a trot line. They don't know anything except how to live in a very narrow social spectrum. And I think about the Great Depression in this country. Major universities estimate 7 million people died of malnutrition or starvation associated or illnesses associated with malnutrition in the 10 years of the really hardcore depression in this country, when the bankers turned off the economy on purpose to consolidate power. That's what we're in now. They're just slowly turning everything off. And 90%, right at 90, were agrarian and somewhat self-sufficient, if not entirely, some of them. Now we're 90%, exact numbers inverted, urban, and half of those that are rural are self-sufficient. 5%. You know, I told the story last week. I never finished the story, then I'm going to your calls. I went to Barton Springs. I'll kind of go through these cycles where I go somewhere a lot and then I don't go there for years, but I've been going there and swimming laps because the lake's just too darn hot. Drive out to the lake and swim a couple miles. And I'm watching all these weird women henpeck at each other and with their kids, and everyone's like so anxiety-filled even talking to each other because they've never really lived in a real world. It's so artificial. And women cutting in front of each other and people acting neurotic. And then you get up to the thing, you say, "Hi, how you doing today?" And the young woman behind the counter goes, "Ugh." You say, "Well, great." And then you pay for yourself and your children. You say, "Thank you." And they say nothing to you. And then I looked at my son and I said, "Son, back when we still had communication skills, before people only watched television, she would have conversed with me, a fellow human. But she's been dehumanized." And the woman was looking at me very angrily at that point. Richard Reeves was actually there with us as well. He saw this. And I watch and listen to the young people. And I played that Facebook ad where you face scan to buy and sell. And the voice of that narrator, can you pull that up? That is the voice of where, in the new trendiness, you don't use full words. Like, they don't just say, when you say thank you now to a waiter, "No problem." Not "you're welcome." Now they say prob. Prob. Just as 1984 says, the language has officially been reduced. And I listen to them and I watch people, young people, and just like rednecks will talk more and more redneck to be more redneck than the other. I mean, people in Texas 100 years ago, because I've heard recordings of it, they sounded like I do. This is a real Texas accent. This is what somebody not trying to put an accent on sounds like. This is a Texas accent, okay? This is it right here. And my family's as Texas as it gets, 1830, both sides. This is a Texas accent. okay, which is a Southern gentry English accent. But the point is that you go out, you know, deer hunting or whatever, and gals will be like, one guy goes, I'll tell you what, boy. Other people will do that to, like, outdo them. Well, let me tell you what the yuppies are now doing. The yuppies are now going, and you act weak. The weaker and more pathetic you act, the more powerful. The patheticness, the not caring, to have your eyes artificially act like you're not fully conscious, that is wisdom. Being pure, weak nothings that don't even pick their feet up when they walk. They slide their feet. The Austin slacker is the ultimate weapon of the New World Order. Just people begging for the New World Order to release a bioweapon and kill them. I mean, can you imagine in a collapse what these people will be like? Can we play some of the voice? Because this is what the woman behind the counter sounded like. Exactly. This is our enemy. Here it is.
Why haven't Facebook check-ins gone mainstream? Check-ins provide a powerful mechanism for businesses to deliver discounts to loyal customers. But few businesses, and even fewer customers, are taking advantage of this. So we set out to evolve the check-in process by creating a seamless method for checking in and getting deals.
Now see, if you want to be even more trendy than him, you have to stop using language entirely, or just go with or prob or And these people, I've seen it. If you're aggressive and informed and actually have a backbone, they like flutter off like flying roaches or something that are. And a lot of these yuppies now just look at everyone with disdain. Or you'll be in a parking lot and they'll ask you a question.
Check-ins provide a power.
They'll ask you a question. And you'll answer them, and then they'll look at you like they feed on the old American, the old human that's friendly and talks. They see that as a sign of weakness. It's almost like junior high with mean junior high kids ignoring the other kids, but they're not in junior high anymore and they're powerless. So in a counting coup, they'll engage you in a conversation just to get you to talk to them so they can put their nose up and walk away from you. These are the type of people that get in the fast lane and go 20 miles over the speed limit, and then when you finally get around them, they speed up. They are spiritually begging for airborne Ebola that Dr. Pianka at UT talks about being released on them to kill them. That's how he talks, by the way. You can barely understand him. It's a spiritual deadness, and they want the sacrament of death. In fact, if you talk to them, they all think there's too many humans. And a lot of them actually are embracing their destruction. So, all right, I've really just been out of control today. I took 2 days off, got a lot of sun, actually relaxed, and it's hard coming back when you have a mini vacation. Let's go ahead and talk to Chuck in Oklahoma. Chuck, I appreciate you calling. What's on your mind?
Hey, Alex, what's going on, man?
Worldwide transmission. Thank you for holding while I was babbling about the trendies.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. I enjoyed listening. I'm just sitting up here at work, just hanging out with a little bit of downtime, so I thought I'd just share a little bit of things that are on my mind with you. I just had a few questions I was going to ask you, and then I could probably just take the answers offline so I don't take up too much of your time.
Oh, you're not taking up too much of my babbling. Go ahead.
Okay. One of the first things I was going to say is, you know, do you think it would possibly be a good idea to possibly, you know, rally all of our troops, all your listeners each month, and just kind of try to get everybody together and just do like a protest once a month for every state in their capital? Just that way, you know, one state may, you know, everybody meets up at the state capitol every, you know, one time once a month.
Yes,
you know,
we need to get out of our coma, our trance, and rediscover liberty. I mean, if they're admitting FEMA camps and re-education centers, we need to demand mainstream corporate prostitute media cover it until it actually hits the news. And we need to continue to demand it. I mean, we need to get aggressive, people. I mean, again, I go back to this. Cities where they laugh at you about fluoride, you need to march in there and go, look, you yuppies only listen to Harvard. Here's Harvard saying cancer and brain damage. You put them on notice, and then you sue them when they don't remove it. Because the courts allow non-physical violence. That's what that is. They're assaulting you. You have a tort. You assault them back with the legal paperwork. It's time to get aggressive, short of physical confrontation. Because if we won't pick up the pen now, we will never pick up the sword. And we're going to end up getting into that position. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I couldn't agree with you more. Another good idea that I thought might be a great idea was, have you ever thought about going on tour? Just doing like, kind of like what Michael Jackson was kind of planning on doing, at the end of each concert. Just go to each state, kind of like what you and Charlie Sheen did when y'all gave y'all's great demonstration of, what y'all believed about 9/11. I mean, if you just went to every state and held just, a big conference like that.
Yeah, that was before Charlie went off the rails, unfortunately. Here's the deal. I got an old bus. I went to a few places. I just cannot get the amount of work done I can here at this office. I'm trying to get people trained. Overall, they're doing a pretty darn good job trying to get a whole new crew in. I can't do the new gun show. I can't do all the other programs. I can't get all the reporters hired and toady after everybody and get everything done. I can't even get radio ads on the air, okay? So I've got to create some type of organization here where I can just get basic stuff done to be able to operate. But yes, I'd like to be able to go on tour. But I mean, really, it's up to you guys, folks. The FEMA camps are there. They're training to take your guns. What are we going to do about it? Sharon, Tom, Real Caged. We're going to all of you. Folks, I need your help. Folks call in and they've got all these ideas for me to implement them, and it makes my brain burn because I want to implement resistance. I'm doing everything I can. Officially tomorrow, 50,000 copies of Infowars magazine, 48 pages long, incredible graphics, articles about the financial implosion, the gun confiscation drills, all of it. The most important up-to-date info, well, 50,000 of those will hit the streets of Austin where I live as a beta test to roll it out in other parts of the country. Everyone that signed up at Infowars.com/newsletter will get our daily video blast, key text, key articles. But you'll also, once a month, get a digital copy you just flip through, emailed directly to you for free. Tomorrow, we'll also have a link up at InfoWarsShop.com where you can order them at cost in bulk, the physical copies, which really gets people's attention now. And I explain Print 2.0 in the opening article that I wrote. So it's all there. It's all available right now at Infowars.com/newsletter, or just on the right-hand side of Infowars.com front page. It says Infowars Insider right there. Just put your email in, sign up if you want that free digital newspaper magazine sent to you. And again, in a world of just regular internet stuff, the fact that you can flip through it and issue, and it's all professional and follow links in it and things, well, just wait till you see it. So sign up at Infowars.com/newsletter. And we will be emailing that out. I think I'm going to email it out Wednesday. We're going to email it out Wednesday to everybody free. Okay, and then you can email it to your friends and family. You can pay it forward. You can pass it on because it's just a link. Right there. And if somebody just read that who wasn't awake, they would have more information than most people, even in government. Sharon in West Virginia, thanks for holding her on the air.
Thank you, Alex. I love you, and thank you for your dedication and sacrifice, but I have some ideas. We need a dream team of lawyers with the American public that's awake as the plaintiffs, and we need to file lawsuits en masse on the IRS, the Federal Reserve, one over posse comitatus, and either one or two Bush elections. That's not even counting 9/11. And I would also donate my own money to reward fund for finding any information or any evidence in the photographs of the 9/11 Pentagon, finding any plane wreckage whatsoever. That's what woke me up, that fact. And also, if we could, with all the celebrities that believe and that have enough courage and are brave enough, we could fill a huge stage and have a Freedom Aid or a Liberty and Freedom Aid, like Farm Aid or Live Aid, and with a huge screen showing pictures of the Pentagon. We're dealing with a brain-damaged public. We have to get back to basics. This is so complicated. It makes my head spin. I'm not that smart, but it makes me physically ill. So the rest of the brain-damaged public, they just don't understand. If they would ever wake up, no one where I live is awake. They would think that I was crazy for talking about this.
Well, ma'am, number one, you don't sound stupid. Number two, you sound extremely informed, and a lot of those are good ideas. The big thing is trying to get a bunch of celebrities to do something like herding cats. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to have open phones for him. We are joined by Michael Murphy, who helped put together What in the World Are They Spraying? Excellent film we carry at InfoWarsShop.com on chemtrails. And now the new one just came out, Why in the World Are They Spraying? And, of course, they put the film out for free yesterday when it officially was released. It's on YouTube, but they have links there at InfoWars.com if you choose to support the filmmakers who traveled all over the world to make this documentary film. We're going to be breaking it down with him coming up in the next segment. And the biggest thing you can do is support the alternative media. Thomas in Kansas, thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
I'm just blown away by how crazy everything's getting.
Tell me about it, man. Hey, I was listening to I'm a long-time listener. Appreciate everything you're doing, and I actually just put your Infowars.com on my truck, so I'm pretty, stoked about that. But anyhow, my question is like, it's more of a comment, but I was listening to a radio talk show host out of Iowa named Jan Mickelson. Have you heard of him?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well, he was interviewing a neurosurgeon who had broken down, like, Paul Ryan's alternative plan to the Affordable Health Care Act. And according to what she was saying, it's not much different than Paul Ryan's plan is not much different than Obamacare. And I thought it was kind of interesting what she was saying. I don't know, the real fine details of it, but
yeah, well, he supported the prescription drug thing. He supported No Child Left Behind, all of it federal takeover. I mean, Paul Ryan is called ultra-conservative nowadays, and he'd be like a Democrat of the, 1970s. I mean, he says he's anti-abortion, and he's against us paying for that, and he's pro-gun, and those are good things, but I mean, look, everything that's happening is because the globalists want it. And so, of course, he's not going to be picked unless they're comfortable with him. And he's just there to get conservatives to think Mitt Romney's okay. But then again, what do? Vote for Obama? Well, in a way, if Obama stayed in, we'd probably beat the globalist. Because they would go so far, it would fully wake up people. Now it's going to be sleepy time when Mitt Romney gets in. Sleepy time. All the police state gains, all of it, it'll suddenly be forgotten about, and the Democrats will start talking bad about the police state and wireless wiretapping again. And then I'll be called a liberal by the media. Today I'm called a right-winger. Look, all I want is liberty.
I got one more question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
I was watching the prostitute Decepticon media, Rachel Maddow, and she had like this whole segment on Paul Ryan being a big Ayn Rand fan. And I find that hard to believe, considering he's basically everything kind of Ayn Rand stood out against, concerning many of Paul Ryan's issues now. I mean, it's...
Well, no, see, look. The head of Rage Against the Machine wears red stars, which has killed more people than the Nazis. That symbol it has been the front or the signet, the logo of the greatest killers in history. They do it because it's seen as cool. Well, with libertarians and constitutionalists, Ayn Rand and all that is seen as cool. So, yes, it's a camouflage that Paul Ryan wears. And then when the left attacks Paul Ryan, people see that and think, well, he must be good. I mean, it's theater, sir.
See, to speak to what you're saying, I was getting ready to bring this up. the interesting part about all this is I'm seeing patterns of infiltration among the old Republican Guard into the libertarian, pro-freedom movement.
Yeah, what's happening is we're the biggest thing in this country now. So they are merging the real Tea Party with the establishment Tea Party. And the polls are attempting to take it over, but the opposite is happening. It's more of a merger. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. We are here Monday through Friday from 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm coming to you from deep in the heart of Texas, Austin, Texas, here in just a few minutes. We're going to go to our guest who hadn't been on in a couple of years since his last film came out with G. Edward Griffin. What in the world are they spraying? And it's available at InfoWarsShop.com, discounted if you want it. But now they have a brand new one, and they love liberty. That's why they put the film out for free this weekend at YouTube in conjunction with Infowars.com. We posted it for free, the entire film, up at Infowars.com. But we say buy it at InfoWarsShop.com to support us and the filmmakers. Why in the world are they spraying? Not what in the world. They answer that in the first one. Why are they doing it? They have the globalist in here admitting they're doing all this. It's unbelievable. Very powerful film. The two go together to understand the geoengineering, not terraforming because the planet's already habitable, but the geoengineering as the White House science czar John P. Holdren calls it, the same guy that says poison the food and water to sterilize us. We're going to go to him in a minute. But first, I was pointing out earlier that Newsweek's going out of print soon. That when I have been reading Newsweek at dental offices and places, that I have noticed that there's nothing in them now but big pharma ads and government ads or bank ads that are funded by government taxpayer money. So if you're watching at prisonplanet.tv, you can see this, or later we'll post the video for radio listeners. Always remember, if you're listening on XM or AM and FM, by tonight or tomorrow, you can always go to the site and find the previous day's show posted to YouTube while it's still letting us do that. They're trying to restrict us right now, and you can follow along. But we are streaming video right now at prisonplanet.tv. Here's a Newsweek from June 4th and 11th. So this is over a month old, actually a couple months old. But I just wanted to show you, Jubilee Gal. And you open it up, there is a AT&T ad. So it's got a few corporate ads in it. British Airways. And then you got Peace Corps that are now doing FEMA Corps. Full-page ad, government. PeaceCorps.gov. Now, that's for overseas. They've now set up FEMA Corps, literally, to be spies and tattletales as part of the rural councils and the rest of it. And you continue here. It's a skin cancer foundation ad. See, drug company ads, you name it. Never, why is everybody getting cancer? It's, oh, we've got a treatment for you. Then it's all about Facebook, a whitewash on why they were going to soak you. Donate the gift of life, give your organs. Of course, now they found if you go to the hospital hurt, they'll kill you. That's come out. My dad told me that as a physician when I was a kid, and I didn't believe him, even though I believe him on most things. And then later it came out in the news they were killing people all over the country for their organs. That's the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Service Administration. Again, most of the ads, drug companies or government. Continuing. Whitewash on Penn State and that government op. You got one ad for big fans, the trendy fan. Here's another one, Blue Cross Blue Shield, how great Obama healthcare is. You've got all of these big insurance companies and HMOs that are at your service. A bunch of property ads. You've got articles that are the real ads here, propagandizing how great the attack on Syria is, the al-Qaeda forces. You've got them recycling and claiming they were against the bailout, which they weren't. Here we've got the National Museum United States Army, armyhistory.org, that's government.
You've got Worship the Queen, right there, who is the enemy of our army. Not our army anymore, it's her army. You've got the silent killers, how great the drones are. You've got a USO ad until everyone comes home. I mean, this is what you'd expect in a third world collapsed, dictatorship, is you open the major magazine and it's just government ads and drug ads. This is your tax money paying for this. Seton Brain and Spine Institute, so a medical ad, because they're soft killing us. A Newsweek ad. Here is another military ad. How great the Department of Defense Veterans Affairs is. Some propaganda just about how they've got the best medical system in the world. Of course, it's one of the worst in the world. But, hey, they've got a full-page ad, so it must not be true. They got an ad about getting rid of people and how, euthanasia is basically wonderful. I mean, this is just like what you read in an ad for Colin Powell. How great he is. Oh, isn't he wonderful? And then you've got another vote for creativity, vote for empowerment, vote for companionship, vote for good. And it's a nonprofit ad. And then you've got a James Bond watch you can get if you're really super trendy. So that's why they're going out of print, because there's nothing but government ads. So, and drug company ads. There you go. Okay, enough of that. I just promised to get to that. Now I want to bring up Michael Murphy to the airwaves because, hey, we told you forever that they know that you get a 7-fold increase in bone cancer in men, 3-fold increase in women. This is just what's totally admitted. They've done that since the 20s. Massive IQ reduction. It could be upwards of 20 points if you're drinking sodium fluoride or the different variants of that in your water at 1 part per million. Most areas have higher than that. Harvard study finds lower IQs. Fluoride lowers IQs. And they go over more than a dozen studies and talk about us being brain damaged. Yeah. Well, let me explain something else. Aluminum's very bad. Barium salts, sulfur dioxide, that's all being sprayed on us. Bill Gates just dumped a bunch over New Mexico a few weeks ago in a big drill. And, you get 10, 15 deaths from West Nile. They act like it's the end of the world, start spraying all the major cities with pesticide that's been proven to not even really reduce the mosquitoes. This is all part of the bureaucracy where there's this quiet bureaucracy, but it's admitted. It's just most of it's classified. It's admitted. The programs are admitted. The details remain shrouded. Tens of billions, though. It's another form of corporate welfare to spray pesticides, aluminum dioxide, barium salts, stuff on us. And then if you talk about it, you're crazy, even though we have countless clips, and they have them in the films, of weather men and women pointing out, this isn't a normal weather pattern. Jets are up there spraying. Something's going on. We live in a manipulated society. The Russians admit they do it. The Chinese do it. In Dubai, they control the weather. But here, it's admitted, and again, they have the science czar, all of them talking about it, but then exactly what they're doing is still classified. And then they just have articles about how we're crazy because we think they're spraying us. So they had the first film, what in the world are they spraying? But now there is a new film put out, directed and produced by Michael J. Murphy, co-produced and edited by Barry Koloski, I think I'm pronouncing it right. And he joins us now. So we found out what they were spraying. So recap briefly that, and then talk about, when we come back from break, why now? They tell us why they're spraying at their own conferences, their own documents, which they think the lowly, suboid, Eloy aren't reading. While we're running around watching TV, they're killing us and laughing about it. So good to have you with us, Mr. Murphy.
Oh, great to be on. And Alex, thanks again for covering this. Really excited that you're partnering, working with us, and getting this message out to people. We, those of us who have been researching this, we believe there's been no greater assault on the planet than chemtrail geoengineering program. So thanks again.
Well, it's good to have you here with us. We're going to do a different phone line when we go to break with you because this one's breaking up a bit. But from your last film, break down the findings of what in the world they're spraying. Then we'll come back with why in the world are they spraying.
You got it. And since we released the first film, hundreds of brain tests now are coming in from around the world. People have been taking brain tests. They're a very good indicator of atmospheric contamination. And what people are finding are massive quantities of what's now being called the chemtrail geoengineering footprint of aluminum, barium, and strontium. These metals match a number of geoengineering patents that have been designed to specifically spray these metals into our sky. They match what geoengineers state they want to spray but deny that they're spraying. And then what we see in the sky on a daily basis in terms of these long white trails that do not dissipate, they actually spread out and block our sun, is the stated goal of geoengineers. We now have an issue called global dimming. The Earth is now receiving 20% less sun than it did just a couple of decades ago. And again, that's a stated consequence of geoengineering. So that's what we're finding in the rain, which is very toxic to both human health and ecology. But there are a bunch of consequences, obviously, with this. We covered some of them in the first film. And what we're seeing in terms of these consequences that geoengineers are very open about, they're all coming to fruition. So hopefully we'll get into that during the interview today.
You know, that's the funny thing. The media makes fun of people, and we've done FOIA requests, others have, and we've seen, you know, the threat fusion centers. We've seen the threat fusion centers sit there and make jokes about people that think planes are spraying, but then it's all going on. I mean, this is a government that's killed our military, killed foster children, and spraying test and radiation test, and then now they admit giant programs that are classified, and then we're supposed to just sit here and let them do this, and clearly the aluminum's going up in the soil, but Monsanto's got the aluminum-resistant crops they can make money off of. Clearly, aluminum is increasing neurological disorders. That's only one small part of the program. They can weather weapon us and then say, oh, look, it's global warming. Pay Lord Rothschild trillions and he'll fix everything. We'll be back. Michael Murphy is our guest filmmaker. Why in the world are they spraying? First film, what in the world are they spraying? They're both important questions. What are they spraying? Other question, why are they spraying? And there's the weather weaponization factor. We know our weather is the most manipulated in the world. More money, more ground antennas, more aircraft, massive program, HARPs involved, and that's all in the patents. It's all in the admissions, the billions a year spent. But if you criticize it, they just laugh at you and say it doesn't exist, even as they have public forums bragging about what they're doing to us. And that's why Michael Murphy, who was on a hotel line, he's on a cell, it's a little bit better, joins us from Sacramento, California, up from Los Angeles, because they're there handing out copies of Why in the World Are They Spraying to the entire legislature, which is an effective thing to do. You're putting them on notice that the feds, under the Department of Energy and others, are doing this. They also have got patents for 50 years or more, standardizing, having it added to the jet fuel, dispersed through the engines. They have other direct spray. But dealing with weather modification, Michael, you know, a big part of it that's admitted is the ground-based antenna arrays that are interacting with what's being sprayed. So let's get into it right now. Why are they spraying?
There are a number of agendas associated with these programs. Weather control appears to be the number one agenda, and since we released the first film, many people were asking that question. So I met up with meteorologist, former 20-year weatherman Scott Stevens, who's been researching this. And what we noticed ahead of storm fronts, whether it's 500, 700 miles, 24 to 72 hours ahead of these storms, very intense spraying. You get these thick canopies. Those are the days when you have burning eyes, irritability, dry mouth, you know, a lot of the symptoms. Anyways, what we learned, and you had mentioned something, we interviewed Dr. Nick Begich, who is the leading HARP expert. Through the use of aluminum, of course, geoengineers are stating that aluminum is reflective, it's very light, and it will reflect sun away from Earth. Now, what we found that is true, and it will cool the planet temporarily, regionally. Now studies have come in, university studies, NASA studies, not that I totally trust NASA, but they indicate that putting aerosols, yes, will cool the planet again regionally, but they will create an overall warming of the planet because at night they act as a blanket and they trap heat. We've seen a great increase in nighttime highs in the past 10 to 15 years when these programs have been really ramped up. What we found out about aluminum, it's a very effective conductor in our sky. So when when they build this canopy of aluminum through, again, the use of HARP and other technologies, they can actually heat the atmosphere, real similar to putting something in your microwave. The molecules will vibrate, they'll heat. And when an atmosphere heats, it actually raises, and it creates a low-pressure vacuum, and it enables certain corporations to steer storms into certain regions, or the case of this summer, especially here in the U.S., out of certain regions. Now, the science is very basic as well. What we learned, and I went back into the geoengineering tape, spent several hours listening to them, we learned that one of the consequences is disrupted weather patterns. Drought is a consequence of geoengineering. A couple of reasons. When they spray these aerosols into our sky, and if you look off of the coast, this summer we have a complete aerosol coverage every day, all the way from the equator up to the North Pole. Why are they doing this? Well,
and by the way, as you know, they even have the NASA photos showing, and not even regular plane routes, the lines off the coast. Every time there's a system to block it, they admit now the Earth was 20%, now it's 30% darker. And they say, oh, the jet trails are doing it, but they don't add that stuff's being added. So they're blocking the jet stream and all that water and the lower atmosphere trade winds bringing water into the U.S. We are under attack.
You got it. And those aerosols are preventing the sun, in the case of this summer, from hitting the ocean, which is preventing the normal evaporation, the water that does evaporate. And geoengineers are open about this. The particles act as what's called cloud condensation nuclei. So instead of the water evaporating, combining with other water molecules, and eventually condensing and falling as rain, they condense on this aluminum, barium, other particulates that they're spraying.
All right, stay there. Your phone's really bad, so I'm going to come back. We're going to find out when you can do video Skype next week, because I want to get you on, maybe even for an hour and a half. But this is just too important a subject to hammer like this. And we'll just go to phone calls and cover news. You know, my friends, Michael Murphy's new film, Why in the World Are They Spraying? A compliment to the original film, What in the World Are They Spraying? Is a very important documentary, because we are seeing weather patterns that are abnormal. The very groups doing the spraying are the ones saying they want to take over our society because of worsening weather patterns, and if we would just pay them for carbon dioxide, they would make everything okay. We're being held hostage. They're playing God. This is how out of control the national security state has gotten. And our guest has gone to the different forums and events with the globalists where they're publicly bragging their engineering. We know they are. His phone is just bad, and I don't like doing interviews on crackly cell phones. Does not translate well to our AM and FM affiliates. We don't even like regular phone lines now. We try to do audio Skype or video Skype or other systems, ISDN lines, you name it. Most radio shows just have hammered audio. We try to give you high-quality guests. So we're going to finish up with 5 minutes with our guest and have him back up next week or maybe later this week for a full hour as soon as he can get to a good place with good internet. And we'll go to all the callers. I got a bunch of news here. Now, Hillary ordered bin Laden killed. I mean, they've changed this story so many times. It's a joke. We're going to be getting into that. A lot of breaking news right now and your phone calls. I briefly wanted to plug a couple things here. We have launched, InfoWarsTeam.com is a great website, but it's also got the distributor angle. You can sign up there and get discounts on all the longevity products, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, Polymers, Polymers Plus, the key proprietary blend of essential fatty acids, all of it there at InfoWarsTeam.com. But we designed a site with the longevity folks and MZ's people who also designed InfoWars Team that I think is even better. And it's more around the great products themselves. You can also sign up there and be a distributor. It's $10 and then get discounts. And there's a phone number there if you have any questions. On the whole line, the whole giant catalog, everything offered by longevity at discounts right now at a new website, InfoWarsHealth.com. We'll get a link at InfoWarsTeam.com to InfoWarsHealth.com. Again, that's InfoWarsHealth.com. Is available for everybody online now, and the whole product catalog is right there for you, but also join the InfoWars team. Reorder, you can get discounts and get free shipping when you do the auto ship, and a lot of different discounts that we offer.
at InfoWarsTeam.com, but also InfoWarsHealth.com. Going back to Michael Murphy. Michael, look, let's just hit this key point now. We're seeing all sorts of weird weather patterns. You've got weather meteorologists in your films breaking down, this is weather manipulation. They're spraying something. We know this is going on. The antennas on the ground, the stuff in the air. And then, as you said, you go to these events and it shows them bragging what they're doing. And then the water's not coming into the coast. And they're shutting off water at Klamath Falls that is available. And they're paying to move General Motors overseas. And they want carbon taxes on us that won't be on China and India and Mexico. I mean, the clear policy is destroy America. What is the goal there? In 5 minutes, break down the keys that you cover in this new film.
A couple of things. And geoengineers have denied that these programs have been started, but I've spoken to many scientists. Geoengineering can be used to control and corporatize our weather. First time I heard about that, I said, why would somebody want to control our weather? And it was explained to me. Militaries have been interested for several years about controlling our weather. It gives them a battlefield advantage. There was actually an Edmond Treaty back in the 70s prohibiting the military from using this against other countries in wartime. There is an exemption allowed. Countries can use this technology above their own soil. And because weather can be manipulated from thousands of miles away, it's a very effective tool to be used. So that exemption allows them to use this. What we found in the film was totally shocking. We found a monetary interest as well as a GMO seed interest, which you explained. The monetary interest, weather is being traded at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So we went to Chicago, interviewed a trader, and what we found was shocking. Corporations, individuals are essentially betting on the weather. They're betting that there will be droughts or excess moisture in certain seasons. And through the use of these derivatives, they can literally make billions of dollars through predicting weather. So a lot of people think our weather is not predictable, essentially in a long-term investment, and that is the furthest thing from the truth. Not everybody who's involved in these derivatives are in the know, but certain individuals are that are linked into the multinational corporations. And if you have the playbook, you cannot lose. Every commodity is driven by predictability of weather. Those who invested in corn this year are literally making billions and billions of dollars at the expense of every living thing on the planet. Food prices are going to go up over 30% here.
And more importantly, it's allowing them, after betting and knowing where it would go, to consolidate and buy everything up and use food as a weapon. That's what these guys are doing.
Well, that is the main goal of this, and it goes deeper. So money is just an avenue to get what they want. What these programs enable them to do, because they control where water goes, where it doesn't, it's a very effective tool for Agenda 21. In the case of this summer, which we amazingly spoke about the film, drought, again, is what geoengineers say is a consequence of their programs. Corporations make a ton of money about drought, but what we found was this seed by Monsanto, and it addresses abiotic stress. What is abiotic stress? It's everything that geoengineering creates. It's the drought conditions. It's heavy metal contamination. These particles fall into our soil and essentially sterilize our soil. We have ecosystems now around the world collapsing. The farmers that we interviewed in the film have seen between a 60 and 70% decline in their ability to grow natural organic food. Things are dying. So that forces farmers, when they start losing their crops, to do two things. They can sell it, and there's a company now owned by George Soros. He's buying up the farmland at pennies on the dollar. Very effective tool for meeting Agenda 21 objectives. And the other area that they can go is into these new abiotic stress-resistant, genetically modified seeds, which have been designed by Monsanto. This is a corporate takeover of natural systems. Monsanto, through the Obama administration, expressed their interest in going into Africa. Amazingly enough, geoengineers state, if we start our programs, which obviously they have, we will get droughts in Africa and Asia. We have a solution, they're stating, Monsanto, and they've expressed their interest in completely corporatizing that. And I'm going through, the entire film in about 5 minutes. But, Alex, this is so insidious. And one name I have to say it because I am just burning up. It is, many of us know him as Bill Gates. Bill Gates now is on public record, funding geoengineering programs. Geoengineering programs destroys our soil and makes it impossible for people to grow natural organic foods. Bill Gates also invests in Monsanto. He is making not only a ton of money, what they're doing is attempting to usurp the authority of God or the authority of nature.
That's right. They are playing God, creating a monopoly, use food as a weapon. State Department Memorandum 200 is their licensure to engage in this, and the magnitude of this is so huge. What I want to do is I want to get you on next week when you can do Skype, because this interview crept up on me anyways. I watched your film last week and was blown away by it. I think it's probably even better than the last one. It's more hardcore, because I knew the stuff that's in this film when you made the last one. You guys just kind of ease into it. This stuff's really hiding in plain view. What you're saying is not your opinion. He's getting taxpayer money to then go spray the United States and play God. They're doing it in other parts of the world. The film in hard copy is available at InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsShop.com, or link through at Infowars.com. But you guys know there's no future if we don't beat them. That's why you put the film out for free on YouTube this weekend, and you can just go. In fact, I'm going to have Don, one of our writers and web guys, because it was up over the weekend. I'll have him repost it as the top story right now here in the next 5 minutes. Yeah, just ask Don to repost what in the world, or why in the world are they spraying the new one, up on Infowars.com. It was already on the front page Saturday and Sunday. I want to have it the top story right now, so everybody can get it for free. And then if you think it's important and want to have a hard copy they can't remove off YouTube, be sure and download it off there and keep it, but also get the high-quality DVD. It's a very powerful film, and again, let's do an hour. Let's do an hour and a half, since I'm cutting you short here because of problems, because I really want people to hear this in clarity. And you should give us like 10 exhibits. Maybe tell one of the guys, send maybe Rob Dew or the head of the Nightly News a clip sheet off what we ought to grab out that you want to mention, and we'll play clips on the air of it. I think that's really the way to cover this, because I don't want to just talk about this and we kind of move on. This is really happening. And just like they're putting all the cancer viruses and the vaccines and the GMOs changing our gut flora, Bill Gates is all invested in that. This is the total globalist program. And at every level, they're invested in it. They're doing it not just to make money, but to take over. So thank you so much for spending time with us. Michael Murphy, why in the world are they spraying? Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Alex, appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you so much. We love you. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to expanding on a lot of these issues next week.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, you travel around. You guys are always traveling around. You want to come to Austin? You going to fly out here? I can't afford to pay for the ticket.
You know what? If we could get a screening, because we encourage, I do a couple of things. We encourage people around the world to do screenings, and I'd love to speak at a screening. We also, because the DVD's available for free, we encourage people to make copies and hand out for free. We're here in Sacramento at the Capitol today. We just released the film. We've got over 100 free DVDs. We're bringing them to our state legislators. So if we can plan some activism into this event, I would love to come out.
Sure. Well, just if you're ever in Austin, come in the studio. But we'll just video Skype when you get to a place with good internet and a good computer. We'll test it the day before, and then we'll get you on. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, let's jam in some phone calls here, and then we'll come back from break and hit the news. Just a whole bunch of it here. I haven't even really talked about Homeland Security spying on Infowars.com. I woke up Saturday morning and saw news headlines, not on my website, other places, where one of our listeners did a FOIA request and found Homeland Security threat fusion centers watching Infowars.com. Well, really, that's a no-brainer. But you just get a mindset into, what does the V for victory mean? Well, is he going to attack us? And then they sit there and say, he claims it was used by the French resistance. I don't claim anything. And it's just, it's written in like a 5-year-old level. And, he claims there's a global government. Really, I claim it? I mean, I don't know what to say anymore. But I wish you guys would watch the government white slavery rings and stop that.
And then I always get idiot comments going, what about black slaves? Or white slavery means sex slavery, folks. It doesn't nothing to do with skin color. This former Marine was picked up by the feds over Facebook post about 911. And there he is, family shot video of it. They took him to the mental institution because he said 9/11 was an inside job and that a revolution was coming. What, are you going to arrest the Queen's Reich? Because they have a song, revolution coming, revolution coming. But they got him in the mental institution now, like the old Soviet Union. That's Business Insider. Anyways, I always say I'm going to go to your calls, and I start covering the news right away. Let's talk to Real Caged. You're on the air. Welcome. What's on your mind today?
Answering the question that was posed by the documentary, you have to have an understanding of the term scorched earth. Scorched earth is an umbrella policy which contains geoengineering, 9/11, globalism in general, genetic mutation, Monsanto. And what all these have in common is the fact that they're all biblical in nature.
No, that's right. And I mean, just to back you up, it's called full spectrum dominance or full spectrum scorched earth. The globalists call it that. They are attacking us, poisoning us, while giving themselves treatments and cures, and then posing as the saviors, consolidating the economy as they herd us. It's kind of like ancient man chasing after woolly mammoths and running them off a cliff through fear. They're running us off the cliff so they can societally pick our bones. And they are murdering all of us. Yes, go ahead.
You spoke earlier also of Paul Ryan in a semi-positive light. Now, knowing all that we know, okay, I want to give you the opportunity to substantiate your comments based on his abortion rhetoric and his pro-gun rhetoric. You followed later speaking that you're not going to hold back anymore. And in my opinion, that if you choose between Baal and Moloch, you're still part of the 9/11 beast. So go ahead, I'll let you take it from there.
Listen, hold on, because I specifically want to hear what you have to say on this subject. I'm saying that I was actually looking at it from the perspective of what does it mean, not supporting anybody, but what does it mean that they're getting ready to throw Obama under the bus politically? That's because he's already gotten as much as he can in a power grab for the globalists, and now they want to act like all the bad was Obama so that the anger dissipates. So I was saying if Obama stayed in, you'd probably see the New World Order thrown out because it would be so over the top. The system wants to put a Romney in because people will go back to sleep. I was simply saying, what do you do morally when I could say the difference between Romney and Obama is basically nothing? With Paul Ryan, I mean, he has been anti-abortion and he has been pro-gun at a time that other Republican leaders are calling for gun restrictions. So I'm saying, what is your view of that? I mean, I was actually throwing that out for callers.
My view is that having an understanding of the things we talk about, we have to come to a consensus that there is no lesser of two evils. We have to stand for what we believe in, talk about it every day. Quit talking about these non-issues. We know Ryan Romney is a non-issue. We know Obama what he is. We have to look to the future, and I believe that without Jesus Christ and us having faith in Jesus Christ, there is no other outlet to survival.
No, listen, I agree with you, and I appreciate your call. I mean, I don't know what else I can say. The problem is finding Jesus, because you don't find him in these devil churches that are 501c3 government run, telling you each week to worship government and do whatever it says, and actually bad-mouthing the Christians in Rome who got thrown to the lions. I mean, they teach that on TV now. So I can't sit here and say, Jesus is going to save you, because people will just go run to the churches that are literally run by the New World Order. So I have to qualify it when I talk about it. You know, in the Bible, clearly, I'm not going to start preaching here, but this is key. Jesus says when they say, hey, you know, God gave us the understanding that you're his son. He says, I'll build my foundation, my keel on this, that God, Jesus is in you. not through some preacher. Well, they spin it and then say, oh, no, the rock is built on Peter, so that the church can put itself between you and God, just like the Pharisees did, and you're back to square one. Yeah, well, don't say that. If you're a former Marine, he said 9/11 was an inside job, and a revolution was coming. They came and grabbed him. It's a pretty big national story. They took him directly to John Randolph Psychiatric Hospital in Hopewell, Virginia. As everybody knows, the government never stages a terror attack. They need to arrest the London Guardian writers who were reporting on declassified false flag attack plans. Maybe arrest anybody who doesn't love their government and take all their shots. You know, I get what the last caller was discussing. I mean, there's geoengineering going on. They're poisoning the food and the water. They're giving us GMO that sterilizes all the rodents they feed it to. Every disease is skyrocketing. We're being killed, and we're discussing Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney. Yeah, exactly. Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney, I'll guarantee you, don't even know about the whole agenda. They won't even be told about it until they're actually sworn in. But it's so massive that all of this really is window dressing. But, you know, I do talk about some parochial issues because general talk radio listeners on XM and over 100 stations, and they're not going to fully, you know, every day just talk about the chemtrails and the cancer viruses and the... Again, if I'm guilty of anything, it's holding back. I mean, I'll be honest with you. People think I'm exaggerating or fear-mongering. They have no idea. I mean, it's the globalists. That's why they leave me on air, is because they've got a giant program that they're killing us. It's all under national security, and it's just off the chart. It's like it's all rearranging deck chairs. They're so committed. They're underground bases. They're COG. The public's so dumbed down. I mean, and it's not like I even consciously hold back. It's how do you sit here and hammer the full magnitude of this? That's why it's so stupid when a cop pulls you over and says, mind if I search the car for guns or drugs? First thing I say is, well, you know full well guns aren't illegal in Texas, and you know full well you just ran my license plate while I sat here for 5 minutes. And number two, I don't use products shipped in by the government. In fact, I meant to play a little G.I. Joe clip, the old G.I. Joe intro, where it's like fighting Cobra who wants global domination. Cobra is who might as well run our government. And all the weird stuff, I remember that cartoon as a kid that Cobra was doing is actually what the globalists are doing. And I realized it's all was predictive programming, just to condition us so that people's brains had already been accustomed to something so you'd be acclimated to it when it happened. And people who don't understand propaganda would say, well, but Cobra's in a bad light. It doesn't matter. Even if something's shown to you in a bad light, when it really happens 30 years later, you are more comfortable with it and your mind expected it to come. It's like making a friend of death. You're not as afraid of it. Well, the shoe goes the other way, you know, the other foot, where they can bombard us with bad things in an entertainment light, and then people can't respond to it when it really happens. It's like violence on TV desensitizes people where they don't care anymore. They can watch their neighbor hit by a car, bleed to death for 30 minutes, and, oh, they don't want to miss the gym. They'll let somebody else take care of Ralph out there bleeding to death. And we're in a trance. We are. We're in a Matrix science fiction movie. I mean, we're not in pods. The programming's through our eyes into our brain, giving us a false reality, though. I mean, yeah, it's Matrix level. I don't know what you say to a Matrix. That's why I'm not even worried about them killing me. Because it's so beyond that. It's so surreal how crazy reality really is. It's a deadly weapon. The point is that is brainwashing, that they would put up with that. Remember the case of Katrina? Broussard is his name. He was the sheriff. Or no, he was the sheriff of Broussard County or whatever you call it. The point is, we pulled up the CBS newscast a few weeks ago when I talked about it on air. He talks about his mother. And she's in the nursing home, flooded. You know, the water's a foot off the floor, foot deep. She's got a cell phone that wasn't dead yet, and she's calling him. And he's saying, Mama, I'll be there in 1 day. Mama, I'll be there in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. They get there 5 days later because the feds wouldn't let him in to get his mother. And this is the head of the county. This is who's really in charge, elected. And his mother died. My mother is stuck somewhere, and the feds are going to stop me over my dead body? I mean, that's what all this zero tolerance and all this is about, where the child brings, or the teenager brings a plastic knife, a Dixie knife, to spread butter on their bread. You see it in the news every few weeks, and they get arrested. Well, we have zero tolerance, and you have to report this. You have to report if you're a teacher. And so like a robot, you don't use your own discretion. Like a robot, you go and the person gets arrested or suspended or kicked out. So many of the problems we face in this society are because people won't exercise their own judgment, their own opinion. Juries are supposed to judge the law and the facts. If a jury doesn't like a law, it's a check and a balance on unconstitutional laws. That's what the courts are for, and we are the ultimate arbiter in the court, not the judge. Grand juries have turned into rubber stamps of prosecutors. Juries, they've tried to turn them into rubber stamps. Judges try to lie to juries and say, oh no, you're supposed to do whatever the judge tells you. That is called judicial tyranny. Okay, I've already digressed off into that. Just there is an Infowars.com article dealing with it, and it's now in the London Guardian. And they were going to kill U.S. troops with mortar shells and blame it. They were going to burn aircraft at bases, sabotage ship harbors, basically everything the globalists do on a routine basis to us. Start rumors, use clandestine radio. And again, this is operations in Cuba and in the U.S. to claim Cuba is attacking the United States. And the point is that many of these plans have been executed. It's called Operation Gladio. Okay, let me stop there. Let me go over what's coming up today in this hour and in the second hour, and then we have an amazing guest, filmmaker Michael Murphy. You know, they made What in the World Are They Spraying? That goes off the government's admission that for at least 18 years, even just the fact that they felt like it, and you just call them extremists. Because then when they call somebody like myself an extremist, the label now psychologically means killer. And statistically, what they call sovereign citizens do kill 3 or 4 cops a year. Statistically, that's still a very low threshold for the police. But it's advertised like it is the end of the world. It's all advertised like it is the end of the world, and that it is the most dangerous thing in the world to the police. Actually, this is not the most dangerous, but it's one of the bad ones. Harvard study finds fluoride lowers IQs, causes cancer. That's mainstream news. You can look that up. Just came out a few weeks ago. My point is, but that's not sexy, scary. No, that's not something that they're hyping up. And notice you saw all this hype ahead of all this happening. They want to get a civil war going. They want to get the police to alert like an attack dog on patriots, libertarians, and conservatives, so you will start a fight with us, a fight you will lose, of course, big time, and then the globalists will use that to get rid of both sides and bring in foreign troops. This is not actually new news, but now that it's in the London Guardian, I guess it is seen as news. It's up at Infowars.com. Senior senators suggested false flag attack to Kennedy 2 years prior to Operation Northwood's proposal that was green-lighted all the way up to the president, who again said no to the plan. Not just some on-the-shelf plan, a plan that was green-lighted to shoot up movie theaters, bomb shopping malls, little shopping centers, attack U.S. military bases, and blame it on domestic groups so they would round up and arrest, claiming they worked for Cuba and the Soviet Union. Now, Bobby Kennedy also proposed to his brother, when he was Attorney General, attacking the U.S. Embassy in Honduras as a pretext to invade. Now, of course, this all was actually public a long time ago. Even after we'd reported on it, it's been in ABC News, you name it, Northwoods in general, back in early 2001 is when that news broke. But I remember watching a Frontline on PBS when I was on the road one time in my hotel room, and I'd read the stuff, but there they were admitting that Nixon had green-lighted bombing their own convention to blame it on domestic groups, but that too many people in the FBI found out about it who they didn't control, and so they killed that plan. See, this is why when there's an event and it has the right timing and telltale signs of other actors, other people involved, it is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation, and then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. To say that we are dealing with information overload is, well, an understatement. Wow, there is a ton of news to cover. So much, I do feel like my head is spinning, and this is just the beginning of all of the craziness to come. The acceleration into this massive time of change where the globalists are wanting to get rid of national sovereignty worldwide and bring in their world government. Obviously, we have the report via a FOIA request that was granted by the gracious leaders at government, just from one threat fusion center, with the feds basically watching Infowars.com and reading comments and responding to locals, local police and others that come to them and say, I saw a V for Victory sign. What does it mean? Does it mean that they're going to come get us? And they're like, well, that's from World War II, and it means that basically it's a resistance, but it appears to be nonviolent against what Infowars.com perceives as a police state. I mean, why didn't that local police department just go read what it said, read the website on it, go to the website link where we described what it was about? Why didn't they look up what V meant in World War II? I mean, they could have done it. Instead, they went to the feds and had them tell them. And there's a whole bunch of stuff like that in there. You know, all the classic stuff of, I claim a world government's being established, and all the rest of it. So we're going to be speaking some about that because it is important, and going over some of the different documents where it is described, though, as right-wing terrorism. That's a quote. See, a couple cops got shot last week, and now they're saying it's sovereign citizens in Louisiana. Really, reportedly, they were drug dealers and a bunch of stuff who just used that as a pretext to say they're magically above the law. Just because the globalists are above the law doesn't mean that you or I can suddenly go out and kill somebody.
I mean, the globalists are going to be brought to justice as well. But the point is that they're now saying that's a sovereign citizens group. And then they just call them extremists and anti-government, which isn't enough of a label. You're like, wow, I mean, these guys just reportedly shot and killed 2 cops, injured 2 others, for what appears to be. Immediately are forced to come out and say, well, this could be a false flag. We said Fast and Furious was a false flag, and the memos did come out that it was done to blame the Second Amendment. In fact, provocateuring and staging stuff is so universal now that whether it's the Greek police or whether it's the Spanish police or the U.S. police or Canadian police or British police, even local police departments get caught constantly planting drugs on people, breaking into cars, blaming it on people, stealing cars, running their own chop shops, running prostitution, and provocateuring. Staging attacks on their own officers who sometimes don't even know. There's been lawsuits. There was a couple out in Seattle is how we learned about it from '99, where they had cops dressed up, throwing glass bottles and hitting police in the head with it who were in riot gear. And in one lawsuit I saw, they broke the guy's jaw, and he got in trouble when he complained and found out that it was other police officers doing it, dressed up like anarchists, leading a group of foundation anarchists who'd been flown in by some of the big tax-free foundations as a way to attack the 50, 60,000 peaceful protesters that were saying, we don't want the World Trade Organization. We don't want global government. When you got a bunch of men, women, and children and baby strollers and good-looking protesters out there on the streets, that can turn into a peaceful revolution. So you go and you attack the police with your own police, and Delta Force was involved. If you don't believe me, if you're a new member of the press or new listener, you can pull up Seattle Post-Intelligence or Seattle Times. It's all in my film, Police State to the Takeover. If you're too lazy to use LexisNexis or Reuters services that'll have stuff that's not easy to find on the web. I've got screenshots and newscasts in my film, Police State to the Takeover. And I got all this world news. I'm digressing. Just that's one of the first articles I wanted to get into. And the issue was the police got mad, the police union got mad, because they had to sit there for an entire day for the news cameras, but they weren't told. They were just told, stand down, being hit by bottles, being rocks thrown at them by less than 50 people. Delta Force was commanding it with radios from the heights. That came out. Delta Force. Delta Force, yes, look it up. Delta Force was running the whole black op. They had different federal agencies there, federal marshals, FBI, ATF, of course. Bomb disposal was their cover story. And a little less than 50 anarchists who they brought in and then housed in a building under government protection. So they attacked the police, and the police are like, we want to do something. And they're told, stand down, let them loot Nike Town, let them burn things down, and sit. Well, I'm sorry. I'm a citizen, I'm a cop, I'm a janitor. You throw a bottle and hit me with it, I'm gonna attack you right back. I mean, who are these police? You're standing there in the riot line, people are hitting you with bottles, and you don't do anything? So one hits you in the face and breaks your jaw? You kill somebody with a bottle. Worldwide, we're getting sprayed with aluminum dioxide, barium salts, and countless other nasty things, sulfur dioxide. Now they've got a new film out, and we're carrying both. Why in the world are they spraying? And that gets into, well, the real agenda. So why are they spraying? We know what they're spraying. The question is, why are they spraying? And I like this film because it's just got the government admissions, the government think tanks. They have this stuff on C-SPAN. They just don't call it chemtrails. And it's added to the jet fuel, and the jet engines disperse it. Even the airline companies aren't even really involved. All they got to do is control the big kerosene makers. That's what jet fuel is, basically. So that's coming up in the third hour. We will have open phones towards the end of this hour and right into the second hour. And we'll have some open phones for Mr. Murphy as well. But again, both films are available, discounted with free citizen rule books and bumper stickers and more.
at InfowarsShop.com. That's InfowarsShop.com, and your purchase does make the broadcast possible. Both URLs will get you there, InfowarsStore.com or InfowarsShop.com. Okay, continuing here. FOIA, for your documents, DHS monitored opposition to See Something, Say Something program. Federal agency tracked InfoWars stories, user comments. Through Saturday through today, the Drudge Report has prominently linked our important article about police departments trying to get Homeland Security grants for blimps tethered over your city, surveilling you. That's on the right-hand side at drudgereport.com. Right now, it's a very important article. We also have a Fox News report that's also up at drudgereport.com. I say that because it's right above our article. Agencies tap down speculation over hollow point ammo purchases. It's Fox News. And it basically says, you know, the feds are like, we're not buying any extra ammo. And then they cherry pick the story to make it look like it's no big deal. Nothing to worry about. Well, we're going to be going over that. We're going to get into Newsweek telling Obama, hit the road, Jack. I'm going to run down just some of the big headline stacks we're going to be breaking down today. And then we're going to give the number out to take your phone calls interspersed with the news. But in the economic stack, we've got some very important information. Lord Rothschild betting on euro collapse, ? That's up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Banking titan places $200 million short against the European single currency. We're going to be going over that. And CNBC, Der Spiegel, and ABC News are all picking up on that. Moody's says more California cities at risk of bankruptcy. Yeah, it's been engineered that way with unfunded mandates. It's all made-up money the bankers give them. They get real assets back. That's how the banks take over. Euro stocks slip after European Central Bank downplays bond report. Facebook stock slides to all-time high. It was always a scam, always meant to be a scam. To scam you.